Thank you for having me. Being here is surreal, to say the least. That was also one of the most enjoyable experiences that I've had going on that summer undergraduate research, uh, conference. Was first time I'd ever been to Asheville as well. And it's also interesting. Wow, smart people can really have fun. So. As I said, my name, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, Dr. Brown. My name's Dmitri. I originally am from Detroit, Michigan. I grew up there, splitting my time between, the suburbs and the inner city where my grandparents lived, and it was a little bit difficult for me because back then, like y'all have it cool now. Black nerds weren't a thing back then, so now it's like, oh yeah, it's really cool to be nerdy. It wasn't, and 20 years ago it was not. So it's nice to see how things have evolved. I got a little, it was difficult, but then I also was pushed into, thinking that I wasn't smart or adequate enough to go to college. At one point, my high school guidance counselor suggested I go into trade school, maybe become a janitor. And my mother had some really choice words for this woman, and many of which I can't say here. And so, but I was negatively reinforced into thinking that I would not excel in college. So I went into the Marine Corps, and interestingly enough, I was stationed right over there at MCS Miramar. Upon leaving the Marine Corps, one of the vocational counselors was like, well, I know you want to go to college. You should try to get into San Diego State University. But, I was like, well, what about UCSD? I was like, oh, if you're really smart, you can get into UCSD. And so I applied to San Diego State. I didn't get in. I got into UCSD. I'm like, oh crap, that means I have to try. And try I did. It was hard. This school is hard, really, really hard. But prior to that, I went to San Diego Mesa College and I focused on transferring to UCSD. And when I got to UCSD, as many of you may have experienced, it kicked my behind. As I was telling some of the young, lovely students at my table, you have no idea how good you guys have it. You have no idea how amazing this school is. You have no idea how amazing the mentors and the faculty are here. They are of top-notch A grade. I bounced around majors. I started with psychology, and then I went to pre-med, and then I'm like, oh, well, I dislike, being around blood, vomit, and feces. So I went to pre-law, and then that was equally disgusting. And then I was thinking I was going to get a PhD in philosophy, and my mom was like, well, what are you going to do? Think deep thoughts about being unemployed. And so I went back to psychology, and I realized I really liked it. But I didn't understand what to do with it. And I also didn't understand that a career in science and a career in science was an option. And I didn't no idea that there was this path that you could take towards, engaging in academic research. And I was approached by the former McNair coordinator, Dr. Albert Lascon, and he said, well, there's this thing called the McNair Program. You should apply. And I'm like, what was that? And he said, well, just apply. And there's all these steps that many of you guys know that you have to take. I applied, and lo and behold, I got in. and you know, through this process, I was saying, well, I'm really interested in understanding how things work and applying that understanding of how things work into a mechanism of which we can actually help people. So, but I want to do it rigorously. So, you know, by testing hypotheses and things like that. And Albert was like, "So you want to be a scientist?" And I'm like, that's actually a career." And so, and he's like, "Yeah, it sounds like you want to be a professor." And I was like, "You, like me, a professor? I wouldn't know anything about that." So once I got into this program, I got this exposure to what it's like to be in academia. I got exposure to the GRE. And most importantly, it gave me this confidence that I could do it. This, like I said, being on the outside and coming back here, we really, really take it for granted how wonderful and amazing UCSD is, both in terms of the faculty and staff, but as a scholarly institution as a whole. I mean, all the UCs are great, but and I work at one. I'm at UCSF. UCSD is better. I like it better. Don't tell anybody. But one of the biggest things that the McNair Fellowship gave me was this confidence that I could. It's, these academic goals are not insurmountable, that you can do it. You just have to try hard and you have to work at it. And it also gave me this, it also gave me, it toughened my skin a bit so that, some of these obstacles wouldn't make me crack. So, and these things are extremely important as, if you come from if you're a student of a diverse background, if you're a student of color, like I am, if you're a non-traditional student who thinks that they can't do it, if you come from like an LGBTQ background, you can, like, there's all on the outside, there's all of these forces telling you, like, no, you're not good enough. Well, that doesn't exist here. It does not. And this program is the opposite of that. It brings you up so that you are actually at a point where you can engage the academic world efficiently and effectively. So while I was here, I studied with Dr. Edmund Fantino. He's since passed. I was his student when he was going through chemo, but he still took the time to help me develop my academic interests. Within the summer research program, I was exposed to the actual doing of science, conducting a study, analyzing the results, writing a manuscript, presenting the results, which I did with Dr. Brown. And I graduated with these experiences that prepared me extremely well for a career as a grad student. And more importantly, I keep going back and to this idea of confidence. There's this idea, like, so I study trauma, and I'll talk about that a very little bit because I don't want to bore you with all my nerdy science stuff. But there's this idea of, stress load versus self-confidence and self-worth. And having a balance of this affords you to be able to navigate stressful situations. And this program heaps on tons of the self-confidence, self-worth components. So when you finally get into grad school, you're able to hack it. I was the first African-American graduate student at Columbia University's Department of Clinical Psychology. This is, people say, oh, wow, that's amazing. No, it sucks. That should not happen. There should have been outreach and understanding of the department to be able to bring on other potential clinical psychologists, because many of the psychologists and psychiatrists, for that matter, who work in the New York area see people who are indigent, see people who are of diverse backgrounds, and they don't understand how to engage these people at all. And by the time there's this extremely entrenched, undercurrent of I'll just go ahead and say it, white privilege. And for example, one of my classmates was a legacy. So, and I didn't know what that was until, oh, well, my father went to Columbia and got his PhD. Well, my grandfather went to Columbia and got his PhD from the same department. And I didn't have that. And so, which means my struggle was considerably more difficult. The faculty engaged me in a lot and in a differential manner, some of them. And so it was harder. And I was like, why did I leave UCSD? So, but I also, as this weight, stress, and that kind of trauma got heavier and heavier, I began to rely on the resources that the McNair program afforded me during my years here. And I powered through the program and completed all the academic work in 4 years. And graduated and never looked back. I hightailed it back to California and did my residency and postdoc at UCSF. I originally focused on stats and epidemiologic research, but I moved into clinical neuroscience, which is my main focus now. And more importantly, I found out what I'm most interested in, and the fact that I can do it. It's one of those situations where you're kind of really you have to push yourself through the eye of the needle, and once you're out on the other side, you realize the vast majority of the resistance that you were experiencing, while some of it may be external, a lot of it is internal baggage that's been heaped up on you. And if you can get through it, or you can do anything. I mean, anything. And most importantly, I found a place where I'm valued. So where I'm at now, I'm assistant professor at UCSF. I teach grad students, medical students, residents, postdocs. I do this, unfortunately, when you're doing research, they make you teach, and they make you do clinical work, which takes away from my time of wanting to do my precious research time. But I do love teaching. I found that out. I love teaching, and that's one of the reasons I'm happy to be here. And what I do in terms of my research is I study the neurofunctional relationships between trauma and psychopathology. When I was here under the guidance of Dr. Fantino some 15 years ago, I focused on behavioral impulsivity. Lo and behold, I am actually applying the stuff that I learned in that summer research program to the research that I do now. And I actually have a $1 million grant looking at some of the stuff that I researched while here in the McNair program at UCSD. It's pretty cool, and the goal is to understand when people are traumatized, why do they make bad decisions? Why do they engage in maladaptive behavior? Why are they so triggered? And understanding the physiology of that. And I wouldn't have been exposed to that had I not been a part of this program. And I can say that this program has had a direct impact on who I am today, both as an academic, as a doctor, as a husband, as a father, as somebody who's also still learning himself. To that end, I want to say, I keep saying this, but I want to emphasize that I was there. Well, not in this building because this isn't this. I'm walking around campus. Man, y'all have it good. But I was in your shoes years ago. I was toiling up there in the basement of the psychology building during the summer research program, sometimes staying like long nights trying to get trying to figure out results and trying to get my research to work. I was there, but while the path is long, you can get there. If I can do it, and I consider myself I don't think very highly of myself. I think that I see myself as just some Jewish Makateli who happens to like science and happens to be a nerd. But if I can do it, you guys can do it. I've been talking to some of these younger students. I have to say, you guys are far more ahead than I ever was when I was your guys' age. And it makes me so pleased and so happy to see the evolution of you guys as a student and the program as a whole. So, you have my thanks and you have my appreciation. And just wanted to give some shout outs to my former advisor. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Brown, also Dr. Artis, my current research mentor and my loving wife and my two chunkies right here. So that's all I have. And if any of you have any questions about, navigating the research world and moving from where you are now to grad school, I'm totally fine with availing myself of your my contact information. And if you need to sit down or even like a pep talk, please let me know. Okay.